Not only are we fooling redfish every day, but Fred is bringing in some tanker trout.
What's going on, Salt Strong Nation? It's Matt, and I wanted to share a really quick tip with you guys about how to get your lure back from, say, oysters or some other type of underwater submerged structure. Now, this is an old trick that I learned from my early bass fishing days. Now, when you're fishing a lure presentation, on the bottom, you often have to worry about hang-ups on that underwater structure. You're usually fishing pretty tight to that structure because that's where those fish are relating to and where they feel the most protection. So you're often going to be fishing as tight to that structure as you possibly can. But when you're fishing tight to that structure, you don't want to have to worry about the problem of constantly retrieving your hung up lure from that structure. So that's why I wanted to share this really quick tip with you guys about how to be able to get your lure back from that structure so that you don't always have to run your lure down in that strike zone and potentially blowing out that spot trying to retrieve your lure. You can do this with a really quick and simple trick that I'm about to show you right here. You'll see here what I do is I actually reel down on the slack of the line. I put tension in the line with the bow of my rod, and I pop the line between the first reduction guide and the spool of the reel. What this does is send a wave of slack, if you will, down the line so that that hook point, whatever it's embedded in, can kind of free itself from that underwater structure. Now, when doing this, you want to make sure you aren't pulling the rod with enough power for a hook set, but just enough tension that line tight. And this allows you to keep fishing that area without going into that strike zone to retrieve your lure, which, like I said, could really just potentially mess up where you're trying to fish. As you'll see here in this footage, once I was able to get my lure retrieved from that underwater structure on those oyster shells, I was able to start getting those strikes.
Another red. They are just as pretty as they could be. On again. Feels like a better fish. Feels like a trout. Not only are we fooling redfish every day, but Fred is bringing in some tanker trout. If you hadn't tried out the Fred and you want to give it a shot, hit that link down below. Another one. All right. So it seems like I might have figured out a bit of a pattern. I have to bump that bottom coming off. Another red. They just have some pretty tails in here. Golly, the pretty tails in here.
I did in fact speed this part up a little bit, but I do want you to see how long I actually wait before I start actually putting any action into the lure. So it has efficiently reached bottom by the time I start giving it action.
Another one on the Fred. If you hadn't tried out the Fred yet, man, y'all can go ahead and do it by hitting that link down below, man. Another one. Puppy City.
I know you're probably thinking I should have been using a weedless presentation, and that's true, I could have been. But the way the bite was on that day, those fish were really dialed in on that small presentation, and the bites were really quick and light. So the exposed hook was really working better for me in that situation on that day. Again, I was using the Fred paddle tail on that Z-Man Pro Shrooms Ned Rig style jig head, and that was really the ticket for me that day under those conditions. And truthfully, it's continuing to produce for me on most situations. So if you're interested and you haven't already, be sure to check out that Fred Paddletail lure. And if you're new to Salt Strong, just know that we are the #1 online fishing club in America. We actually guarantee to help you find and catch more fish, save money on tackle, make friends while doing it, or it's free. So we hope to see you in the Salt Strong Insider Club soon, and thanks for watching.